Good morning, everybody. It is 7:27 in the morning on this beautiful Tuesday, the 31st of July, last trading day of the month, second trading day of the week, turnaround Tuesday as it's called. Let's go ahead and take a peek at the trades from yesterday and see how those have gone. Oh, gotta drag it up there first. So, we had, where are we at? Let's start with the Aussie dollar was the first one. Aussie dollar, we wanted to go long on a break of that diamond at 74.88. That has not shown up yet, of course, so we're just hanging out with that one. Really no trade that we took there. We had gold. We wanted to go long on the at 1235.77. That did not reach up there. And the euro, want to go long at 17.55. We got up as far as 17.43, so we did not get all the way up there yet. So that's still waiting. That's still in play though. New Zealand dollar, we want to go long at 68.97. That is still up there. Did not play out. The dollar, oh my gosh. We'll talk about the dollar yen because I was trading this last night. Bing pong, bing pong, bing pong, ping pong, ping pong. It was all over the place. And then the pound dollar, we want to go long at 31.55. That has touched it. That is still in play and active. And yeah, we will keep an eye on this. Okay, getting into the nitty gritty. I wanted to point out one more time this thing here. This is called a relative rotation graph, and what it does is it shows and it measures the performance of, well, this is Optima has a Forex one now, which is fantastic, so I don't have to mess it up myself. Well, that's not to imply they messed it up. They actually have it right. Mine was wrong. Well, it wasn't wrong. It was just, this is a lot more, it's got a lot more stuff going on. Oh man, we got some movements here. What did I miss? Did I miss a news-related release of some sort? Yeah, we'll find out. If I can find that idea on here, wherever you're at. Where'd my alert thing go? 1 second. So we just had, oh yeah. GDP, Canada GDP just came out. So that's caused some moves. And man, that Canadian dollar is really taking it on the nose here. Oi. And the US dollar's facing some weakness. Euro's going up. Okay. Back to this while we let those things settle down. So looking at the relative rotation graph again, this is telling us, well, actually, maybe this is a little easier to look at. So what we have is, this is faced against a benchmark. So this is based against the Dow Jones Dollar Index. And so here's the Forex pairs some of the Forex pairs that I look at and trade. And what it's telling us is that in the upper right quadrant, we have things that are outperforming, so they're leading, so they're ahead of the pack. And then we have the ones that are weakening, so think of it like they're ahead, but the momentum is kind of slowing down. And then lagging is really where you see them. When they get into lagging, this is where they're really overdone. So they're weakening into here. When they finally transition into the lagging, that means that they're way behind and they are well outside of being the index is outperforming it by a long shot. And then finally, when we get into improving, that's telling us that we have positive momentum coming in and that it's getting better. And we can see this kind of activity go and follow in flow very, very easily by watching how it rotates. And we can see that, we have things that this is based against the dollar. It's not. It totally makes sense that a lot of times things will be moving in one direction against the dollar or with the dollar. When we see a whole bunch of things on the inside here, we look at the center. That means that the things in the center, the more closer they are to the center, the more correlated to the dollar they are. So if we zoom in, I mean, not surprising, we see the Omani Rial. We have the Hong Kong dollar tied to the dollar, Jordanian dinar. I mean, a whole bunch of these currencies that we just don't even look at or trade or think of. The Yemeni Rial and so forth. But if we look at the currencies that we do trade, so here's the euro. We can see that it is in the weakening condition. We can see that it is doing poorly against the dollar lately, and that it's pointing towards getting into the lagging indicator, or the lagging sector. And the pound is in the lagging sector as well. We know that. And we see that the yen is actually doing well against the dollar. And so this is kind of an anomaly when we look at how things are trading related to Forex, our Forex markets, and how their underlying currencies are actually performing against the dollar. And we see the Aussie dollar really was doing well, and then we just really fell down here, and it's pointing down. So what I like to do once a week or so is I like to take a look at a relative rotation graph, and I like to see what is in the weakening and pointing up towards the improving, because that's where you catch the nice trades. That's where you find the ones that are overdone and are gonna yield you a good trade. Well, not really they will, but I mean, it gives you an idea of what's lagging. Or if we want to look at it just at the Forex pairs, you know, right now the best trades are going to be silver and gold. And the farther away from the center something is, the more alpha you're going to have, the more trade opportunities you're going to have. So something like the New Zealand dollar, even though it's pointing into the leading, it's still in improving, and so there's still a lot of growth available. And if we look in here, this pair right here, the pound, the British pound Aussie dollar, that looks like it could be a good trade here in a little bit. But yeah, we want to. This kind of gives you a broad overview of how things are performing against an index. You could do this against the euro. You could do this against the dollar. You know, there's a whole bunch of things that you could do. Okay. All right. Now let's take a look at our market. All right, where are we at? Okay. Let's turn this off here. Respond to somebody there. Okay. So the euro, this is really, really great that we're seeing this activity right here. That's exactly what we kind of wanted to see. Let's bring it over. Let's actually look at the euro from here. Let's look at gold first. Gold, these blocks here with the volume profile and the straight blue line, these are the weekly volume profiles. And what it's just the weekly volume profile, and so the straight horizontal line, that represents the point of control for the week. And so if we were to draw these for every week going on, you know, for a while, we would see that we have a volume profile that has a point of control that continues to go down. Until last week, we saw that the point of control was actually higher. Not by much, but it is slightly higher. And so, you know, we're seeing some resistance in gold to try and get above that. But if we can break above this point of control, that'll be a pretty big deal. That's what we really want to observe. In fact, if we look at the daily right now, we can see that we're just under the daily point of control, and then here's yesterday's point of control. So, you know, we're in a area where we could experience a nice breakout in gold, and just based on these technicals alone, I believe this is a buy, but we want to buy above. So that's 1222.39. All right. And then let's take a peek at the euro. Euro catching a nice bid. It's actually, we've had a pretty nice drive up here. Ever since we came down last Friday down to the 116.25, and we tagged this major harmonic. We've had some responsive buying, and you know, we look at the volume profile. We have a very nice higher weekly volume profile. We're trading above that. That's bullish. We are trading above the past 2 days volume profiles. That's bullish. That's kind of activity we want to see. However, where we really need to get across, if we're just looking at visually where has price traded, the high of last week is right above us at that 1750. So we really need to pay attention to that zone if we need to break higher. If we look at this on the Ichimoku on the hourly cloud, we can see that we do have buying conditions met. If we go to the 4 hour, 4 hours telling us that we have good buying conditions. I mean, really, if we're not in yet, the buy from yesterday at 117.55 is still the trade. $1.1755. That's on the 4 hour itchy. Okay. We have that. Aussie dollar. Let's take a peek there. Aussie dollar. Ooh, nice candlestick setup here. Aussie dollar. We are 4 hour chart is in a awesome buying condition. I mean, that is. I don't know. Yeah, this is fine. 0.7488. All right. That was on the 4 hour itchy. We'll remember that. Okay, New Zealand dollar, taking a look here. Now, I like this chart because we are above last week's volume profile, the point of control, and we have some what looks like really nice support on the conversion / baseline area, and we have lagging span above the cloud on the 4 hour. So on the 4 hour cloud, this is a good entry zone. I keep forgetting to. Dollar yen. Oh, you know what? We'll come back to this guy. Pound dollar. Really looking like we'll get a nice breakout above the zone here. Looking at this on the 4 hour Ichimoku, you know, a break above this. This is a harmonic zone. No, it's not. What is that? Oh, I remember why that was there. We're above the point of control from last week, which is awesome because we've had a lot of difficulty staying above an important zone like that. And on the 4 hour chart, we're actually getting some conditions met for that long trade that we've been waiting for in the pound. And so we're looking at that entry being the 131 93. No, I think, you know, the trade from yesterday still active right here. Yeah, 131.60. 131.55 was from yesterday, so that trade's still active. So we actually just got all those beautiful conditions met. That's active right now. I think those are perfectly fine and appropriate. And we got US dollar, Canadian dollar facing a little. We got a little buying back here, but nothing overly. Okay. Over to the Euro's nice, getting a nice breakout there. Broke above that triangle. That's hot. That's awesome. Euro's catching a nice bid here. Nice drive. All right. Get Skype messages in the morning. Blech. Okay. Oh, actually, so take a peek at the dollar index real quick. We see some continued weakness here on the 4-hour chart. We have, we see gorgeous conditions met on the 4-hour Ichimoku system for a push down in the dollar index. So we should see some inherent weakness going with those and with the dollar. So that'll be a fun, interesting trade to look out for. Then we got. Let's go back to that dollar yen. I feel so scatterbrained today. So the yen yesterday, Bank of Japan, it said that it wasn't going to do much with its surprise. It's going to continue to have negative interest rates, and of course, it's not really doing anything to change. So that's where we had a lot of activity last night, and we finally hovered above that 111.50 zone, which is also the bottom of the cloud here. And so the bottom of the cloud generally on the first retest the first test of it generally acts as a pretty strong zone of resistance, and which we are seeing play out right now, and we could actually see that continue to act like that as we go on. And I really actually like the idea of the short here at the present value area because of where we're at on the cloud. That is a good value area to be on the short side. I think today we'll see a pretty interesting move in definitely the euro. We're seeing that already, but then also gold probably, and maybe UJ maybe by the end of the day. Pound dollar. Where'd it go? Where did you go? Trying to figure out which chart I had. This one? I think so. Maybe. Yeah. Aussie dollar. Better look. Right here. Is in a really awesome spot. Been talking about this for the last week or two. Is the Aussie dollar's right? It's actually trading on slightly above its 360-degree square of 9 value area, which is also right below, or shared. It's a confluence zone of its of the longitudinal line of Saturn. That is the planet that shows good support and resistance for the Aussie dollar. Now, when we've had a lot of this this is just all consolidation down here. When that's happening right below a planetary line and you don't see a continuation, especially after over a month, so 45 days we've been sitting in here, this is telling us that we gotta prep for launch. We gotta be ready for the drive higher, and it's gonna be a pretty swift drive higher. This won't last long. The continued stay in this zone, so be very, very careful and wary of that. This is going to be an interesting area to look at. If we do get a rejection lower, then certainly we're going to have to wait for a breakdown here. But remember, this is that diamond formation that I was talking about. Those don't happen often. They're pretty rare, but when they do show up and when the reversals do happen, they are often very swift. We can actually see this formation somewhat in gold as well. Not as big of a degree, but it's actually got, well, this probably isn't a good viewpoint of it, but gold, it's around its little support zone here too at this 315 degree. Do I not have a planet on this? I don't. You know what? Let me get that on there. GPLs, Gann planetary lines. There we go. Although I don't have the square for this, do I? Well, oh yeah, it's the single digits. Sorry, pardon my babbling. I don't need those. I don't need those. Don't need those, and I don't need those. And I don't need these dates. There we go. Okay, so I know Mercury's not. Jupiter is generally the gold planet, or Saturn sometime. Definitely Jupiter. And we do 3 harmonics. There we go. Okay, yeah, I mean, really, we're just kind of a waiting game now. Cool. Not much to see there. US dollar, Canadian dollar. Oh, you know what? Yesterday when we went over those musical harmonics, let's actually look at how those have played out today. So on the euro, it's a very sexy looking head and shoulders setup here. The euro we found when it came down to this inner note, inner harmonic of Fa, it held as support very nicely. Aussie dollar, the Ray has been its strong support zone. The New Zealand dollar getting close to breaking above that harmonic level. UJ, not much to look at in there. The pound holding that as a very strong level. What else? What else? What else? Where we at? And gold holding around that harmonic level too. This was kind of the on the 4 hour, I believe, is where we saw most of the diamond setting area. Be interesting to see where we close on this daily, on the daily chart and the 4 hour chart. Gold's sitting down there, getting a lot of pressure at the moment, but that is ABKB. There's a strong support zone for gold, anyways, where we're currently sitting. And let's see what else. I thought we had. We don't. It's fine. Yeah. So just really a lot of kind of just waiting game going on, but we should see a lot more activity today. The dollar index again is in a pretty weak state. Caught a little bit of a bid right now. We'll see what this looks like at the 8 o'clock hour on a lot of these pairs. We could definitely see the trade continue to go down. I mean, we've been looking at the dollar index ever since the 19th, and we see that it is continuing to pull down lower. We're outside this band here. On the 4 hour, we're pretty flat with the Ichimoku, but when we keep testing lower like this, we are setting up for a longer term push down lower in the future here. Let's see, gold's setting up for a nice drive higher. It's getting a really beautiful base formed around this entire zone. That's looking really good, actually. The euro is clearly telling us that it wants to move higher, that it wants to break out higher, that it's going to break out higher. That short-term uptrend line facing a little bit of heat up there. Aussie dollar, same thing, slowly churning up here. One of those telltale signs that you're going to eventually break an area of support or resistance is when you start to have kind of a deliberate, ponderous drive towards that zone, and then eventually you just blast through it. New Zealand dollar, very similar situation. We've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks, where it's coming up against that middle harmonic there. We should expect to see this behavior. We should expect to see as things form into triangles in the market, you often see the volume drop off. That is a totally normal thing to have happen, where you get into those tighter consolidation zones. Volume does drop off. Volume is not important when you're getting into the ends of triangles in the market. The volume becomes irrelevant, mostly irrelevant, because really all we're looking for is a break above or below of the structure, and certainly our bias based on a weekly chart is to the top side. So we should watch very carefully what happens with the New Zealand dollar at this level, because we would break above this 45 in this square here. We would break above this, the very mid price level of 68.24. That is the exact center of price for the entire history of the New Zealand dollar. And yeah, that's a zone to look out. I mean, we're just showing a lot of push towards these zones lately. The dollar yen doing it's like a chicken with its head cut off. The pound really wanting to break above the structure here and move. US dollar, Canadian dollar, it's actually could not cross above that midpoint. Let's look at it over here on the hourly. Yeah, that's actually, watch this one play out a little bit. I have to see. I'm thinking about it, but yeah. Dollar Swiss, okay, no biggie, no biggie. New Zealand dollars, yeah, really not a lot of activity. I don't think we put one at 68.19. Yeah, that was at that present value area. That's still actually fine, because we're lagging span still okay. Price is still okay. All that jazz. We're coming up against this angle as a support zone, so that's fine. Yeah. A lot of these markets we're just kind of gonna have to watch and wait and monitor and manage as we go on through the day. So otherwise, short day today. Again, 1 o'clock, crypto markets trading live, and I look forward to seeing you there if you're there this afternoon. If not, I will talk to you all tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.